Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 spoilers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. 3 must-watch moments from YNR's explosive confrontations and twists, week of October 13th. According to spoilers for the week of October 13th, 2025, there are 3 must-see scenes on The Young and the Restless. Fans should anticipate a horrifying vehicle catastrophe involving Noah Newman. Mariah Copeland is visited by Tessa Porter. Claire Grace Newman also meets Sienna, the club owner. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Noah Newman's vehicle accident. Let's begin with Noah, who is scheduled to travel to Los Angeles to see his parents. But Sharon Newman is unable to locate her son when she gets there. She later delivers terrible news to Nick Newman over the phone. Sharon tells Nick that it's exactly like Cassie Newman, while Victor and Nikki Newman listen on telephone. Sharon responds that Noah has been in a horrible accident, and it's really, really awful when Nick asks her to explain what's happening. The debut of Sienna Bacall, and in LA will be Claire and Holden Novak. The young woman wanted to get away from Genoa City and Kyle Abbott for a while. Claire believed she would be able to explore a new place and that the time and distance would be ideal. Claire meets the club owner when Holden takes her there. Sienna brings up Audra Charles, despite Holden's insistence that Claire is merely a friend. The problem of Claire Grace Newman. According to The Young and the Restless teasers for the week of October 13th, Claire's escape encountering a roadblock is yet another must-see event. Victoria Newman is under pressure from Kyle to provide him with Claire's hotel address. If she really does it, will Kyle be there, I wonder? The week of October 13th, 2025. Victoria will also receive some consolation from Nate Hastings. Once romantically involved, the two are now simply friends. Could Nate's relationship develop into something more, given Victoria's loneliness and the busy schedule of her children? Kane Ashby's AI proposal is another. He wants to discover a way to use technology for good, rather than to seize control of businesses. Phyllis Summers is expected to present some concepts regarding Kane's potential for redemption through AI. Will he take from the wealthy and donate to the underprivileged in a Robin Hood-style scenario? To discover out, we'll have to continue to observe. More than 2 key character debuts. There will be a lot of casting news to take note of, along with some bombshells. According to The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of October 13th to 17th. Discover below who's coming and who's going in Genoa City during the course of the next 5 days. 2 significant character debuts. Fans are reminded of 2 significant and eagerly awaited character debuts in The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of October 13th to 17th. In the Tuesday, October 14th episode, soap opera veteran Tamara Braun will first appear and introduce YNR viewers to Sienna Bacall, a character who has ties to both Holden Novak and Audra Charles. While Holden is having some vespers with Claire Newman in Los Angeles, fans might anticipate seeing Sienna bump into him. Seeing what Sienna has planned and whether she knows anyone else from GC will be intriguing. In the meanwhile, on Thursday, October 16th, Entertainment Tonight journalist and General Hospital alumnus Matt Cohen will make his detective Burrow debut. From 2016 until 2019, Cohen portrayed Griffin Monroe on GH. Additional casting notes. Next week, Jess Walton will continue playing Jill Abbott. Fans of YNR may anticipate seeing Jill make a significant choice regarding Billy Abbott on Tuesday, October 14th. That being said, Jill did mention in a conversation with Jack Abbott during the week of October 6th that she would be spending less time in GC this time around because she was preparing to travel to London for a treatment. Can Jill patch things up with her son before she leaves town? She won't be here for long. Will Abbott Communications ultimately be funded by her? To discover out, fans will need to tune in. Rising shadows above the city of Genoa. Fall has arrived in Genoa City, bringing with it the burden of disclosure, tragedy, and rebirth. In The Young and the Restless, The week of October 13th, 2025, marks a sea change in the show's emotional tectonics, rather than a straightforward chapter. The audience feels that a darker, more reflective season is approaching and that the golden balance that sometimes graces the Abbott, Winters, and Newman families is eroding once more. Tragedy lies at the heart of it all, the kind that haunts the Newman clan like a ghost from their history. We sense the fear growing frame by frame as Sharon Newman searches for her son, Noah Newman, in the pale Los Angeles sun. This is not just a case of someone going missing. It's déjà vu, a spectral recurrence of the nightmare that had characterized Sharon's life. The drama comes to a head when she finally telephones Joshua Morrow's character Nick Newman and says the heartbreaking words, "It's just like Cassie." The same agony that shattered the years ago when Cassie's untimely death altered everything is thrust onto viewers once more. That reference to Cassie is narrative architecture rather than merely sentimentality or melodrama. The present is tied to the show's emotional DNA by tying Noah's fate into Sharon's most agonizing chapter. YNR is aware of its heritage. It also calls into question Sharon's shaky new tranquility. She has been rebuilding for months, juggling motherhood, a resurgent career, and even a tentative reunion with Nick. However, we witness her entire foundation trembling the instant she confesses that Noah has been in a terrible accident. The intensity remains constant even if the screen goes blank in between scenes. Because the audience can tell when Sharon's voice breaks, the pain of losing a child never goes away, and the fear of losing another may completely destroy her. 2. The car accident of Noah Newman. History repeats. Noah's crash is the cruelest symmetry of YNR. If the company survives on generational trauma, Noah, the son of Sharon and Nick, has frequently served as the family's moral compass, the creative dreamer, and the sympathetic outsider who stayed out of the family's turmoil. However, tragedy knows no bounds, and in 2025, Noah represents the apathy of fate. The plan is surprisingly straightforward. He was to travel to Los Angeles to see his parents, which was intended to bring him healing and a chance to reconnect. However, the silence gets unbearable when Sharon shows up and is unable to locate him. There were no texts or phone calls, only the persistent fear that something was amiss. The emotional burden descends like thunder by the time the phone comes in. That horrifying confirmation. There are several levels to this occasion. It appears to be a typical soap opera disaster. YNR, however, takes a psychological approach. Sharon's breakdown is captured on camera as paralysis rather than shock, that silent, oppressive instant before grief takes over. She speaks incoherently and almost childishly when she calls Nick. Both personalities are sliced through by the statement, "It's just like Cassie." For Sharon, it's time encroaching on itself, while for Nick, it's a wound reopening. In a brilliant move by the authors, Victor and Nikki Newman overhear the conversation on speakerphone. The show repositions the entire family dynamic by having the father and matriarch of the Newman empire listen in silence. Victor, so accustomed to being in charge, is powerless. The everlasting matriarch Nikki is limited to muttering prayers. Every parent who has ever waited by a hospital bed may relate to the hopelessness in that room. Fans are already aware that this plot is about more than Noah's survival when Nick rushes for Sharon. Repetition and redemption are key. Near misses abound in Sharon and Nick's past. Opportunities to start over are constantly cut short by misfortune, loss, or distrust. Will they be able to come together in the face of yet another tragedy? Or will Cassie's spirit and their previous wounds cause them to fall apart once more? 3. The emotional geometry. Love, trauma, and penitence. Nothing happens in a soap opera tale in a vacuum. Relationships are distorted throughout the city as a result of every disaster. Several arcs are drawn into its gravitational field by Noah's accident. The emotional frame is once again occupied by Tessa Porter. The wife of Mariah Copeland and Noah's ex-Tessa's choice to go see Mariah in the midst of this crisis says a lot about her shame, unresolved issues, and devotion under duress. It is anticipated that the Tessa and Mariah sequences would be nuanced, with two women united by love yet tormented by conflicting allegiances. Tessa's presence will unavoidably raise the question of whether Mariah will ever be able to let go of Noah completely, even as she struggles with her mother's worry. It's a complex triangle of empathy and emotional residue that is created by quiet rather than conflict. A glance, a sigh, an unsaid what if. Sharon's fortitude and faith will be put to the test in the interim. She has changed over time from a helpless heroine to a resilient survivor. However, grief has a way of exposing individuals. Whether she leans into Nick's arms or withdraws behind her shields, how she handles this could change the course of one of Y&R's most enduring partnerships. And then there is Nick, who has been trying to protect everyone but himself for decades, and is conflicted between being a parent and a son. We'll probably witness the conflict between traditional Newman pride and unadulterated human dread in the scenes where Victor and Nikki provide him with their own kind of stoic support. Victor's natural tendency is to mend, but some wounds, like business dealings, cannot be handled. He is reminded by the accident that his family cannot be protected from fate by any amount of empire. 4. Let's introduce Sienna Bacall, the Los Angeles femme fatale. A different plotline is developing hundreds of miles away in Los Angeles, a place that gleams with sunlit danger and reinvention, as tragedy engulfs one branch of the Newman clan. One of the most eagerly awaited Y&R debuts in recent years, Sienna Bacall, is here. A club owner with connections to Audra Charles and Holden Novak, Sienna is more than just a new character. She's a spark. Subtext permeates the air as Holden and Claire Grace Newman enter her club. Claire thinks she is entering a shelter when she flees Genoa City and her tumultuous relationship with Kyle Abbott. Rather, she is stepping into a web. The character is instantly electrified by Tamara Braun. The debut of Sienna is the epitome of soap opera technique. She is elegant, self-assured, and has a touch of history brewing beneath each grin. She is the kind of lady whose presence changes the atmosphere in any space and who knows more than she admits. Half warning, half flirting, her opening remarks to Holden are dripping with familiarity. The atmosphere builds as she teasingly mentions Audra Charles and criticizes Holden about bringing just a friend. This is a reunion with unresolved business, not just a chance meeting. From a literary standpoint, Sienna's debut accomplishes multiple goals simultaneously. It adds a new setting, broadens the scope of the Y&R universe beyond Genoa City, and establishes her as a conduit between historical and contemporary power figures. Her reference to Audra also raises the possibility of hidden secrets in their pasts, such as a betrayal, scandal, or mischance that may soon reverberate throughout GC. The encounter with Sienna brings back memories of past temptations and allegiances for Holden. It's confusing for Claire because she came looking for anonymity and is now in the middle of someone else's storm. Additionally, Sienna's arrival feels like a fuse being lit for the viewers. Claire Grace Newman's obstacle, heading for peril. From redemption to restlessness, Claire's plot has changed. Claire desired a reset after attempting to reconstruct her life for months after the turmoil of her kidnapping storyline and her complicated relationship with the Newman family. Her journey to Los Angeles, being apart from Kyle Abbott, her controlling family, and expectations felt liberating while she was with Holden. However, freedom is rarely free in Y&R. According to the leaks, fans instantly suspect Kyle of being involved when Claire's escape encounters a hurdle. Unable to come to terms with Claire's departure, Kyle coerces Victoria Newman into giving him the hotel address. This conflict is multifaceted. It involves more than simply jealousy or dominance. It also involves ancestry. Kyle stands for Victoria the Newman, the Abbott name. After decades of being entwined, the following generation is already exhibiting the same tendencies of disobedience and obsession that characterized Victor and Jack. If Victoria does provide Kyle with the address, we might witness one of those tense, emotionally charged, unplanned reunions that Y&R adores, a heated argument where passion turns to rage. Claire, who departed to discover herself, may come to the realization that she cannot escape Genoa City's psychological grip. Her weakness might be revealed by Kyle's entrance, which could also suggest that her relationship with Holden is more complicated than she says. The story of Sharon and Nick is subtly reflected in this subplot. Both storylines examine the delusion of control. Claire cannot free herself from the drag of her history, and Sharon cannot rescue Noah from fate. Both ladies are discovering that there are always repercussions for any kind of escape, whether it be emotional or physical. 6. Rekindled sparks in the shadows, Victoria and Nate. Victoria Newman is at a turning point in her life among all the turmoil. Victoria, the once stern CEO of Newman Enterprises, is now shown as a lady who has lost too much: the stability of her brother, the tranquility of her daughter, and the faith she previously had in romantic relationships. Viewers are prompted to re-examine their complicated past when Nate Hastings intervenes to console her. Once full of promise, their romance fell apart due to ambition and treachery. However, now that business games have been removed, their reunion feels real. Victoria's loneliness is evident. She is witnessing the disintegration of the people she loves, her profession feels meaningless, and her children are grown and far away. Nate's reappearance at this particular moment seems more like cosmic timing than a coincidence. It is anticipated that their interactions will be subdued, silent flashes of vulnerability rather than fervor. Don't be misled, though. Y&R is skilled at transforming a whisper into a spark. This emotional thread balances out the week's darker plot lines, regardless of whether they stay friends or move toward restored romance. It serves as a reminder that people's urge for connection endures despite catastrophe. 7. The AI Gambit. Kane Ashby's redemption arc. Kane Ashby returns to the stage with an unexpected mission: to use technology to redeem himself as the Abbott and Newman family struggle with emotional storms. Kane, who was once renowned for his cunning and business ambition, now talks about harnessing AI for good. It sounds like a redemption story on paper. It might turn out to be one of Y&R's most interesting contemporary pivots. Though it may seem out of place, Y&R has long dabbled in topical innovation, including biotech, hacking, and digital empires. Both satire and sincerity can be seen in Kane's wish to move away from destructive capitalism and toward moral innovation. Delectable unpredictability is added by his collaboration with Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, who is entrusted with coming up with concepts for using AI to redeem him. Reinvention is something that Phyllis, the perennial survivor and schemer, knows better than anybody. Her influence has the power to either improve Kane's vision or turn it into yet another catastrophe. There is a tantalizing sense of a Robin Hood perspective, where riches is redistributed or corruption is exposed using AI. The show explores if technology in the right hands can mend what greed once broke, suggesting a philosophical underpinning. But fans shouldn't anticipate a clear-cut hero narrative because of Y&R's propensity for moral ambiguity. Kane may become the very thing he is attempting to atone for if he attempts to assume the role of savior. 8. Casting changes and character debuts. The growing universe. This week also marks a significant casting milestone with the arrival of two well-known newcomers who are expected to change the game. 1. Sienna Bacall, played by Tamara Braun. For Y&R, Tamara Braun's arrival is a coup. Braun, a longtime soap opera veteran, offers prestige and unpredictableness. Long-term narrative is hinted at by her portrayal of Sienna Bacall, a lady with ties to Holden and Audra. Sienna is a bridge character, one that can connect side stories into a larger mythos by bridging Genoa City and Los Angeles. She is not merely a passing figure. It is anticipated that her debut episode, which airs on Tuesday, October 14th, will display both charisma and threat. 2. As Detective Burrows, Matt Cohen. Cohen's Detective Burrows makes his debut on Thursday, October 16th, and is probably connected to either Phyllis's AI activities or Noah's crash investigation. Cohen's performance, which combines passion and compassion, is a clever casting choice. He is well known for playing Griffin Monroe on General Hospital, and he has the ideal balance of heart and authority. Burroughs might serve as the link between the city's moral reflection and its criminal activity. Both Braun and Cohen's presence indicates a production approach that aims to infuse legacy drama with new vitality. The goal is to provide fresh avenues for fascination for the upcoming Y&R generation, not to replace the existing guard. 9. The conundrum of legacy and letting go for Jill Abbott. Jess Walton's continuous portrayal of Jill Abbott, meanwhile, lends weight. Her sequences offer both poignancy and finality as she considers making a huge decision with Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson. Her upcoming travel to London for a medical operation may function as both narrative closure and an emotional handoff, as Jill has always wavered between ferocious independence and maternal overreach. Her query, should we fund Abbott Communications, has symbolic significance. It all comes down to legacy. What do we create? Who do we trust to continue it? And when do we eventually take a break? These moments will be remembered as a fusion of corporate drama and familial tenderness, thanks to Walton's relationship with Peter Bergman, Jack. It will reverberate as one of the week's more subdued yet poignant subplots if this is, in fact, a temporary farewell. X, the week's themes, echoes and mirrors. The entire week of October 13th, 2025, can be seen as a tapestry made up of 3 interconnected themes. The recurrence of tragedy. Cassie's death is cruelly mirrored in Noah's crash. Sharon's experience serves as a reminder that pain changes, resurfaces, and redefines love over time. Escape versus entanglement. The tales of Claire, Kyle, and Holden examine how impossible it is to avoid the past. The ghosts become closer the more one runs. The age-old Y&R question, can imperfect individuals actually reform, or do they only adapt their vices, is embodied by Kane's AI project and Phyllis's mentoring. The Young and the Restless demonstrates why it is still the most psychologically impactful American soap opera when viewed through these glasses. A deep reflection on human cycles, how suffering, ambition, and love rewrite themselves throughout generations, lies underneath the glitz and tragedy. 11. Hinting to the future. Seeds for the upcoming months. The seeds for months of drama are sown every Y&R week. These trends most likely portend the following. Noah's condition. His crash will serve as a moral turning point whether he lives or dies. It might bring Sharon and Nick back together romantically, or it could ruin them because of the blame. Anticipate disclosures that connect Sienna not only to Holden and Audra, but also to a more extensive West Coast operation that may be connected to Newman Media or Jabot's entry into Los Angeles. Claire's crisis. Kyle's meddling may set off her downward spiral, potentially resulting in a confrontation that makes Victoria reevaluate the extent to which she inherited her mother's protective nature. Kane's AI experiment. If Victor sees potential in Kane's system and tries to take it for Newman Enterprises, the technology plot could turn into business conflict. Detective Burroughs. His introduction may bring several strands together, including the investigation into Noah's crash, the discovery of cover-up, and the unforeseen web that connects the Abbotts. Jill's brief absence could open the door for Billy to take charge on his own, putting his ability to manage ambition and sanity without his mother's support system to the test. 12. The bigger picture, an evolutionary show. At its best, The Young and the Restless examines human nature via the lens of continuity, rather than merely telling stories. This week serves as an example of how evolution does not imply a rejection of the past. Rather, it's about covering old wounds with fresh stories. Longtime fans are reminded by the Cassie Noah parallel that the secrets of the previous generation are paid for by the current one. The arrival of Sienna and Burroughs adds a new dimension to the film and serves as a reminder that Y&R is still surprising even after 6 decades. Furthermore, Kane's AI plot demonstrates that the soap opera isn't scared to tackle contemporary issues like technology, ethics, and atonement while maintaining its distinctive mix of romance and mystery. If ambition and morality colliding in Genoa City has always been a metaphor for the human condition, then this week's arcs represent a resurgence. The emotional stakes are universal, the pace is purposeful, and the tone is darker.